Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to Hump Day Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. As we roll into the middle part of the week here and downhill into the second half of the week, we are going to put together a nice day. If you liked yesterday, you'll like today. And tomorrow, for many of you, will be similar, except if you're along the West Coast into the Great Basin states, you'll feel the effects of that West Coast storm as it's going to come in and bring significant rain to California, the Pacific Northwest, and some rain and snow to some pretty low elevations across the Great Basin states as we go into tomorrow and tomorrow night. Now, as we get into the day Friday, it's when the low is going to cross the Continental Divide. And when this happens, storms always get chewed up a bit by the mountains and they try to reform onto the plains. But the jet stream winds taking the storm system through the western United States are very fast. So the storm is going to really come through quickly, then get better developed out into the plains. So it's going to kind of skip over a lot of areas along and east of I-25, just bringing a few showers, then become more of a storm for the upper Midwest, causing severe weather, causing an area of snow into the upper plain states. But the high country will do well. The snowpack will get a boost as it comes on by, and we're going to have a ton of wind. As we've been mentioning, especially Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Kansas, you're going to have a ton of wind as this storm passes to your north, so be ready for that. We're going to be quite a bit colder. We've enjoyed some very mild temperatures this week, and we'll have a couple more very mild days. But for Friday through the weekend, going to feel a little wintry again. Nothing terribly cold, but a contrast from where we are now. We're also looking at that next storm system queued up to come in around Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. As we mentioned yesterday, that one's not moving as fast. That one's bringing a good chunk of moisture with it. So that's going to produce some areas of rain and snow in some areas Tuesday, especially overnight Tuesday into Wednesday and next week. Then we are also going to discuss the total lunar eclipse. There's a lunar eclipse coming tomorrow night into the earliest morning hours of Friday. And give you a forecast, give you the times, what the cloud conditions are like as we get to that time frame. Lenticular clouds showing up very well. You can see right here is the wave function over the mountains causing those lenticulars to form. And we'll see plenty more of those today and into the beginnings of tomorrow as moisture is increasing in the mid and high levels, those strong winds aloft causing the waves to form downwind of the mountains. And beautiful skyscapes again all across the west. Another beautiful shot from Jan Curtis of the wide perspective there, the colors in the sky during the morning hours of yesterday. And we talked about lenticulars. There was a large row of lenticular clouds with a very sharp edge, and you could really see a lot of detail on the western edge of these lenticulars as they formed east of the Laramie Range Mountains, across parts of eastern Wyoming into far northern Colorado yesterday. And you can really see the detail here. This is from Cheyenne looking south into the Front Range of Colorado. So you can see the edge right here. A lot of detail along that boundary there where the wave was coming up right here, forming the cloud and coming on down. And that showed a lot of texture. We'll see that again in many other areas today and tomorrow. Taking a look at the weather advisories across the nation, all of this pink and brown here is for the anticipation of very strong winds and high fire danger in this part of the country as that low forms as we get later in the week into the beginnings of the weekend. You can see the winter storm warnings for the Sierras and the mountains of Southern California. We have winter weather advisories throughout the Great Basin states here, the Pacific Northwest. And now for the mountains of western Wyoming and southwest Montana, we have advisories for winter weather with this incoming storm system, and then high winds along Interstate 80. Then the mountains of Colorado, winter weather advisories have been posted. This is why. Here's that tiny little upper level low that was over Southern California yesterday. The remnants now moving through Arizona and New Mexico. This will produce a little bit of shower activity. Here's the bigger low, and you can see all the cold air coming in across the Pacific as the system digs in out of the Gulf of Alaska. Also, there's very strong jet stream winds coming in behind it, as you see right here. So this is today. Still a very mild westerly flow across the U.S. So let's step forward in 24-hour segments. So this is noon today. This is all the way into noon Friday. You can see how quickly, in 72 hours, the low goes from just off the coast of Northern California today. By Friday, it's already into western Kansas. So this is what we talk about. The speed of the system is too quick to really come together. By the time we get into Saturday, it is already into the Arrowhead of Minnesota. So the contrast, the speed of the system is quite impressive. Today, Friday, Saturday. But cold air does pour in on the backside of it, and this will lead to much colder wintry conditions all of a sudden as the low drags in colder Canadian air. Out ahead of the system, this will be a classic March setup for severe weather. This is for Friday. We'll start to see severe weather beginning to form in the southern plains Thursday, but Friday is the day where we're going to have a huge area north to south in this part of the U.S. where we're going to have severe weather. Severe weather means strong thunderstorms, strong thunderstorm winds, possible tornado activity, hail, all of those nasty things that you get. And then up on the back side of it here, you're going to have a winter storm. So this is going to be a part of the United States. It's going to be a little bit bumpy if you're going to be traversing that part of the country Friday in an airplane. Be ready for a bit of a bumpy ride, and there's going to be airport delays there. This is March. This is the beginning of severe weather season. Let's take a look at the precipitation that happens with this storm, this first one, between now and late Saturday. So you can see all the colors here as it goes through the western parts of the United States, hitting the mountains, getting into the basin, the parts of the southwestern United States that could really use the moisture. So you can see the moisture is pretty good right here. But the moisture gets soaked up. The mountains grab a lot of this moisture, and then here is the gap just east of the mountains as it makes its jump but is moisture starved. Then it starts to grab moisture from the south and gets entrained in the system, but not until it gets into the upper plains. But eastern South Dakota, far eastern North Dakota, Minnesota here, parts of northeastern areas of Nebraska, be ready for a winter storm situation. Now, I do know that we've got very dry conditions right here, and that's a concern, and we're going to continue to watch that for the Bismarck area. This is an area that we're concerned about because the way the storms are forming now, they're forming further south, but too far south for that area. However, there's plenty of storm systems queued up for the rest of March into April, so there will be other chances coming. So let's take a look at the snowfall. There you can see the snow. This is where livestock interests in this area need to be prepared, travelers as well. Then you can see this is going to be mainly a mountain event. Nice for the snowpack. This is what you want this time of year, adding some good water content snow on the mountain slopes. There's the wind. This is the axis of wind right here that will be very, very strong late Thursday night through Friday into Saturday. And then continuing really down here into the weekend, into early next week. But there's going to be very strong winds, especially right along this axis. For you folks south of I-70 in Colorado as well, be prepared. Then, after that, there's a gap. That storm is all the way into the northeast. By Monday, high pressure comes in. So basically, as we get into Sunday, Monday, there's a break in the weather, kind of like what's happening now. But here comes the next trough. The next trough settles into the west coast, and by Wednesday morning, it's going to settle in to southern and eastern Colorado, and it's going to take a little bit more time to come through, and it will drag in a good amount of Pacific moisture. So we'll just see. But this is going to be another opportunity for high country snow, some rain and snow on some plains, and then this system will likely take a track a little bit more south before turning up towards the Great Lakes. And then we've got this next system that will probably arrive around Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday of next week with this one, around Friday of next week with this second one as it comes on through. Total lunar eclipse. Okay, this happens late Thursday night into Friday morning, depending on where you are. For mountain time, it's going to take place between those times, and then just adjust your time zone, Central and Eastern, then Pacific. So what will the cloud conditions be like? This is when the moon goes into the Earth shadow. But it can be quite spectacular. It's a good opportunity if you're one of those that likes to experience these things in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, for at least a lot of folks watching this podcast, you're going to be under cloud cover. This is the cloud forecast for midnight Mountain Time. So midnight Mountain Time, 12:26 to 1:30 a.m. is the time range Mountain Time, and that's when we have a fair amount of clouds. This is the cloud prediction. So we've got gaps, as you can see in some areas, but this Pacific storm is bringing deep cloud cover as it comes in off the west coast. Where you see blue, you're going to have a real opportunity to see the lunar eclipse. The brighter, the thicker the white, the less the opportunity that you're going to be able to see the lunar eclipse. We'll have an updated cloud forecast for you with tomorrow's podcast to see where you might be able to sneak into some of these areas that might have a little bit less in the way of clouds and more of an opportunity. Have yourself a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.